McGregor's fighting once again after a 5-year layoff, and there are a couple questions that I still have. Can he still be the old Conor? What is his mindset? How the UFC has changed in 5 years. Also, what does a win do for him? Lastly, I want to talk about his legacy. All that we're going to talk about in this video. So let's get started. Is Conor McGregor still going to look like the old Conor McGregor? I think we have to get that picture out of our head of what he used to be, because he's older now. And obviously he's not going to be as explosive. In fact, the last time we seen him fight, he didn't look like the same, like the old Conor even back then. So his last fight against Dustin Poirier back in 2021 is when he broke his leg. And we hadn't seen Conor McGregor fight since then. And obviously the videos look like he's strengthened his leg. He's talked about having a rod from his knee or his thigh or somewhere all the way down to his ankle. So obviously it's healed. But can he come back? We've seen clips of him fight or practicing, but can he actually come back in there and fight? And so that's a question that we're yet to see. But I would say he's not going to look the same. He's not going to be the old Conor from what we've seen, 5 years ago. It's been a long time since he's fought. 5 years in the UFC is a very long time, and you've seen guys stay very active. And it not to say that it can't be done, like he can't come back and really look great and get a win. But I mean, 5 years is a very long time to be away from fighting, especially UFC fighting. The sport just advances so quickly. Guys get better, and so unfortunately, not being able to compete like he's been able, like competing in the UFC, it's going to be a downfall for him. That's going to be a strike against him. So with Conor McGregor's size being 170, I think he still have power, but explosiveness, I don't think he's going to have much of that. I think that his timing will still be good. Conor McGregor has always had great timing. His preciseness is still probably going to be good. I just think that, being older and especially coming from that leg injury, I just don't think he's going to have the same movements in the octagon. He had a major surgery on his ankle. And so I think we're going to see the effects of that. So moving on to the mindset of Conor McGregor. Does he still have that mindset that he had when, he was chasing the money and wanting to solidify himself as the greatest or one of the greatest of all time? Does he still have that mindset? And I think it's very hard to still have that, to find that dog that you once had when you've made all the money in the world, when you've accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish in the sport of UFC. When he's accomplished 2 belts, making all the money in the world, businesses, all that kind of stuff, can he still show up in the octagon with that same type of mental toughness? And that's going to be very hard. I think he has an opportunity to do that. I think the closest thing we've seen to that is Dominick Cruz. He was off, I think, 3 years. I think it's when his layoff was 3 years, and he rehabbed and he came back and actually won. He came back and won by knockout, and he suffered another injury, and he was off for another year or so, and then he came back and won the championship. That is the only thing that we've seen. That is the only person that we've seen do something similar to what Conor McGregor's trying to do. And so I think it can be done. It's hard to tell through the videos that we've watched here recently this week of him training. It's hard to tell what his mental state is. He seems to be a great, obviously he's a great speaker, and he can, motivate anybody, and he can have you believing that, he could sell you on anything. And so I think the test is really, can he get in there and truly will himself into a win? So the UFC has changed since, Conor McGregor last fought. It's been 5 years, and the UFC sport continues to evolve. And what magic Conor McGregor captured early on in his career, it's not going to be that same magic that he's going to capture. I think his fight style has to change a bit. My biggest concern for Conor is going to be his cardio. Guys have evolved, and people, these guys have worked on their cardio, especially in that lightweight division. You got Islam, who is at the top of that division, and then you've got Arman Tsarukyi, who is right under that. Then you've got Charles Oliveira, Justin Gates. You got some dogs at that division that if Conor stayed around, he'd have to face those guys. And so I don't think Conor has done much as far as his ground game. He's a great stand-up guy. Well, he was, so we'll see what happens. But the division has progressed really fast. And so he's going to have to come in and show that he's added some things to his fighting style. And I don't know that he's added much, to be honest. I think it is going to be an uphill battle for him when fighting Max Holloway. Max Holloway has been incredibly busy, and he has done wonderful things in the sport. And so I think it's going to be an uphill climb for Conor against Max Holloway. Max Holloway has constantly gotten better and better and better every year. So we don't know that to be the case with Conor McGregor. So the sport evolving does not work in his favor. So what does a win mean for Conor McGregor? If he does beat Max Holloway, that's going to change a lot for Conor McGregor. It's going to be a big deal. And so if he does beat Max Holloway, I don't think he's going to stay at that 170 weight, because you just got some guys in there that they're going to really, really challenge Conor. I mean, like I said, Islam, and you've got Kamaru Usman. You've got a lot of guys that's in that weight division that are not just stand-up guys. They're going to take you down, and they're going to grind it out on the ground. Pause. But it's going to be tough. And so I just think that if he wins, it's going to be great in terms of his next steps and his contract and all of those things. But in my opinion, I would drop back down to 155, and I would fight in that division. Go and take that belt from Gaethje at that 155 weight, or go fight Gaethje. I'm not saying he's going to beat Gaethje, but I think that would be a stand-up bout that would be very, very interesting. This win could really produce some relevancy in Conor McGregor's on his name. And right now it's just, oh, he's back, that's great, but nobody's excited really for it. People are excited for the fact that, hey, it brings more eyes, brings more money, but his name really doesn't do anything for a lot of people anymore like it used to. So I think a win in this category would really say, oh wow, he beat Max Holloway, and especially if he gets a knockout, I think that really sets the sport on notice that, hey, this Conor is the same Conor of old. And it really does let people know that, hey, we have a problem on our hands, and it's going to allow fighters, it's going to make fighters want to target him. Right now, I don't think he's on anyone's target in terms of competition. Maybe he's on their radar for the money and the eyes, but as far as competition, I think that's yet to be proven. Obviously, a win here could set up for another big fight for Conor, and that would be his last fight on the contract unless he extends the contract. But if he wins here, and especially in a really decided way, even just a win in general would be huge for him, and it would set up a big fight for Conor. I'm thinking Justin Gaethje. I'm thinking that go down to 155 and fight for that belt. And then if he won that belt, I mean, we're in a whole nother conversation at that point as it relates to Conor McGregor. So if Conor McGregor loses this fight, I think that it really does start the progression downward for him, and it lets people know that okay, he's pretty much washed up, and it just depends, in my opinion. If he loses via decision and it's a close fight, then obviously there's some excitement for his next fight. But if he gets in there and gets dominated by Max Holloway, I think that the buzz around Conor McGregor's name will go away. Listen, this happens to all of the fighters, or most of the fighters. You don't get to leave, just on top of the sport. Most of these fighters are leaving this sport by getting kicked out or being beat out. They're losing a bunch of fights because fighters are just getting that much more better. They're evolving, and so I just think that it doesn't have any effect on his legacy, in my opinion. I just think that it's just going to be a hard to watch process, as it is with a lot of fighters who just get old and they just can't compete. And so, if he does lose this fight, depending on how he does lose it, we're going to start to see the kind of the walk off into the sunset of Conor McGregor's career. So his legacy, where do you guys rank him as an all-time great, right? We have to look at what Conor McGregor has brought to the sport. I mean, he really helped grow this sport to where it is today, and catapulting the progression of the sport mainstream. You have a lot of other fighters that's done great things: George St. Pierre, Matt Hughes, Chuck Liddell, Anderson Silva, Horace Gracie. You've got so many other fighters, Tito Ortiz. You got a lot of other fighters that's helped progress the sport, but nothing like the way Conor McGregor has grown the sport. So we have to take that into consideration. But also we have to look at the two division champ status that he had, and no one ever really wanted to do that at the time, but Conor McGregor did that. He shocked the world, and so we have to take that into consideration. Obviously his skill set is really good. His skill set was, he's had some of the best knockouts, but we've also seen him get knocked out and submitted and all of those things. And so I'm curious to see where you guys think you should rank him of all time. Obviously, he's had some out of the octagon challenges and allegations. So all of that has to be taken into consideration as well when you talk about his legacy. And I like this Conor that's got some moral responsibility. He seems to be morally conscious. He seems to be humbled. And I like this. And I like the fact that, man, he's coming in with a new mindset. And so we may see a new Conor in that octagon. We may see somebody that's a lot more mature. And, with the threat of losing everything, now he's back and he maybe appreciates the sport a lot more. And thus he gets in there and takes advantage of it. And then we see him continue to evolve as an MMA player. That's the hope anyway. I know Max Holloway is going to show up no matter what, and he is going to do what he does best, and it's up to Conor McGregor to go in there and stop him. And so either way, we're in for a treat on Saturday, and I can't wait to see the fight and then kind of give my thoughts after the fight. For watching the video, please do me a favor and like the video, comment, and subscribe. Peace.